Night special guest exclusive podcast right here on the TradcatKnight.org website. And we have Mark McLean here, who's going to give his take, his synopsis on things here. But before we do that, Mark, perhaps you can give us just sort of a general update in regards to what's happening in your neck of the woods on this level. We always appreciate that. And thank you so much for joining us.
No, glad to be back. I'm looking forward to each month now. I think this is what, our third or fourth maybe. So as I've been enjoying it, and it's good to kind of speak with like-minded people and knowing that there's hope out there, that we're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm starting a live chat program. Actually, I don't know if because I can't remember half the time what I say, but I have the capability through one of the programs I've purchased to run like a live chat forum to where I could leave it up. I don't even necessarily have to be there, but for TradcatKnight members internally to speak about whatever they want to speak about and to network from across the world. So that's another program that I'm going to be reinstituting this Sunday. We're going to start, and I'm going to I'm going to have the intention of doing it like on a regular basis. I dare want to say on a daily basis, but I think that's important because a lot of people who feel like they're out on an island, people from Ireland can connect with hopefully other people from Ireland or just other parts of the world, and they can just talk. You know what I mean? I mean, I think that's really important in these times, Mark, to be able to feel like you're not the only sore thumb out there, right?
Yeah, definitely. Just as you mentioned Ireland there, I forgot about them just for a second when thinking what to talk about today. But yeah, Ireland. Say, if you can go from was it Emerald of the Crown of Our Lady? It was once described, the Emerald Island, to the fact now that, as far as I've been seen on any type of articles, Ireland next to North Korea and Saudi Arabia were the only countries not to have Mass over Easter. And it's still very much the same case in Ireland right now. I believe can't get Holy Mass. And we're starting to see more photos coming through because obviously here in Scotland, we're only an hour's flight from there, if that. And many friends, many family members back and forth. And many of us can still even trace our roots to Ireland. And a lot of people are actually looking into some law, whereas if you can trace your family heritage to Ireland, you can get an Irish passport out with the UK passport, which maybe help a bit more with flying about easy in Europe as a European citizen after Brexit. A few things happening at once, but yeah, the church in Ireland seems to be suffering greatly right now, and it's a very anti-Catholic government. There's no, I think even when Pope Benedict visited there, I think just the demeanour of the Irish government, especially as the one Prime Minister or President in charge, I remember the way he kind of gave a message. It was as if to say, yeah, we'll tolerate what you're saying, but don't expect change type of thing. It was just something about him I didn't like then. And what I don't get, the good news that came to Scotland since we last spoke is it did go through court. The European court ruled that it was unconstitutional to close down public worship at Mass. So that very day
cool. That's good.
Yeah, it was the day before it was planned to open anyway, legally by the government. So the day before the ruling did come through, which was the solemnity or the Feast of the Assumption, and rather waiting the next day as planned by the government, the churches did open that day for a Mass. So the news was heard, and within a few hours the church doors had opened, and what a great day to do it. What my question is, if Ireland is still within the European Union, why are they not having the same law brought to them and have the churches open under Europe?
Yeah, and it's actually worse than that. Did you see that latest report? Well, it was in a wide variety of places, but Gloria TV carried out an article from en.news wherein a recent Irish bill that passed last week makes it a criminal offense for a priest to hear confessions now. Oran Doyle, a Trinity College law professor, told this one particular Irish website, the law applies also if a priest keeps sanitary distances and hears confessions outdoors. So it looks like there's a bill that has been passed to where, you know, if you are going to attempt to get to the sacrament of penance, you'll now be thrown in jail. I mean, that's how far it is. It's not just merely limiting and shutting the churches down per se. They're actually taking it a step further. So it's getting really bad in Ireland. Listen, I've been trying to get Father Kramer out there. I'm always trying to recruit Father Kramer because that's where he's at, and he's my former spiritual director. I'm always trying to get him out here. I'm like, I got a place for you. Come live out here with me. So I don't know. Maybe I can get a little gentle push from God on the matter. But yeah, man, it's crazy what's happening in some countries that you just like if you're not paying attention to the news, you don't realize how bad it is in certain areas. But I'm glad to hear some good signs in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, during Good Friday celebration, well, say celebrations, as a celebration, it was mercy of God. Just watch my words there. But during the Good Friday service, I think it was somewhere down in London, the police went in and halted the mass because it was more than the 50 permitted cap. And they did ask for people to leave. And what was sad to me is how easily they complied and left peacefully. But yeah, it's I think in the news within a week later, I saw the article. The police deep regrets of having to do it, and they apologised actually. So there's maybe a sense of, they keep speaking about how the UK is one of the most mature democracies amidst the global chaos of any given day. So maybe there's a little sign there that there's still some good. Although it gets stopped and whatever, at least they apologised and hope it won't happen again. And come April 26th, numbers seem to be going up a bit more away from capped funerals and weddings and things. I just hope and pray that continues now forever, because this new salvation of the COVID vaccine, with I think the last I saw was 32 million people have been vaccinated. It's still illegal to travel abroad just now, but I think come the end of May, that'll be looking to be released. But at the same time, the Telegraph's just posting about vaccine passports. So there's definitely a lot more happening. And the UK government, the Conservative Party under the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, is getting a lot of scandal news coming out now, a lot of sleaze, a lot of cronyism, a lot of backhanders. Even the ex-Prime Minister, David Cameron, they're basically just trying to make a fortune for the companies that they represent and get a big cash pay themselves, and they've used COVID for that. So there's so much happening. I don't even think we've reached the top of the iceberg, never mind the bottom half underneath. So there's so much. But yeah, I just see things happening all the more. And rather than getting too caught up in the chaos, it's more time to keep in with that prayer, fasting, scripture, Holy Mass. Getting back to Mass again has just been absolutely amazing. And I think the longing for it, there's something in that as well. God will always be there to bring the good out of anything, that's for sure. But Ireland, I know we covered it last time, but I just see more and more of Our Lady of Knock, St. Joseph, the John Evangelist with the lamb and the altar. I just see this being the year of St. Joseph. And I was told with Marino Restrepo, who's an alleged visionary, he's the most humble man I've met. And he said to me 7 years ago, knock is for the future. And I've never forgotten that, because I never looked into knock. I always look into other ones like Fatima, Akita, Garabandal, whatever. But I just see knock everywhere, and how much is it needed? And I think the last time we spoke, Pope Francis has declared it an international shrine. It's a status now, it's been given it. But as soon as it was given it, the Irish Gestapo, as I'm calling them, basically boarded it up so no one could get there after the Pope declaring it an international status shrine. So I think knock is very much for the present and for the future, and this being the year of St. Joseph, patron of the and protector of the universal church, the year of him, I think there's a lot of good happening right now, and men especially need St. Joseph. They very much do.
Now, I know you also wanted to cover here for a few minutes, and you have to get me caught up specifically on what Father Ripperger had to say on communism. Of course, Father Ripperger is quite known in the quote-unquote traditionalist circle or whatnot, but for the sake of those who missed it, including myself, maybe you can kind of give us a quick recap. I think this is the one where he joined up with Dr. Taylor Marshall, if I'm not mistaken, but because I had a few people that were messaging me over. But what were some of the points that he made?
Yeah, well, I saw he did do that video with Dr. Taylor Marshall. I haven't watched that one yet.
Okay.
it was one that picked up. He's just himself in front of the camera.
Okay.
He literally speaks for 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He goes into detail about the demonic side, the demonic ways and activities and the nature of it. But then he goes into the same points of communism. He's very rational. You can see he's got a good Thomistic logic and structure to him as well. But yeah, for 2 hours and 50 minutes, I had to go back to it a couple of different times because I was working and all different things. But the more he lays out how the demonic side works in spiritual warfare, the more it highlights exactly that imitation and communism. And I thought it was absolutely brilliant. But of course, me in my mindset, I don't look at tags much like, oh, he's traditional or anything like that. As Jesus says, those who speak the truth hear my voice. And I find Father Ripperger this past year, since I've just discovered him by chance, to be absolutely brilliant in the educational side. It's helped me a lot in my own personal spiritual battles and things like that. It makes things clear. Once we get that knowledge, we see the signs, makes sense, deal with it, and he's been brilliant. But the comments things that kind of stands out, basically, he says in other videos as well, do you not notice how people are just dumber? They just get more dumb.
Right. Yes, I've noticed that.
He goes in from the surveillance, he goes in from the politics, and even with socialism and towards communism. But it's the idea of government control. It's the idea of us being herded and being controlled absolutely everything. Divide us first before we get that conquer. Get us even on the good ones that are speaking up against. But as soon as that anger comes in, even again, you're giving the devil the chance, which kind of for me sums up as don't cast your pearl before swine. I think at the point we need to hold on to our treasure and guard it. But there's, I mean, like I say, 2 hours and 50 minutes, there was a lot in it, and he didn't get to every part, but he covered a couple. He went into the not as much as the LGBT side of things, but the destruction of the family and obviously coming through that, but the trans side of things as well, he kind of caught in. But the whole idea is to keep division amongst society, to bring about a lot of things like that happening. And I kind of had a personal experience recently that kind of made me think in that way. Someone just in the last 24 hours put up the poster of this new Scottish family party that's trying to get into the elections for the first time. I haven't looked into a great deal of their manifesto, but they're basically wanting, it's traditional family values. It's all for pro-life. Euthanasia seems to be the next thing that'll be coming through with the established government. So this Scottish family party are standing up against that as well as against abortion. They don't want trans LGBT ideology getting taught anymore to our children, which it already is, in the sex education at primary schools, which I think you call kindergarten, the elementary, the first years. So all that stuff's kind of crept in through this current socialist government as well as the rest of the UK side of things. And basically, I think it's an attraction to those of the faith that are crying out to get it back in order. And yesterday someone posted up saying, how can this even exist today? How can this Scottish family party even have the audacity? How can they say they're all for freedom of speech but show hatred towards the trans? And straight away you see there's no rational logic, there's no rational discussion. It's based in emotion, it's based in anger. And sadly, many people in society, at least the last 15 to 20 years where this stuff's been rammed down our throats, repeated constantly, and they don't see any other way other than it's hostile, it's hatred. And I had an eye-opener yesterday just how quick people come on like piranhas, picking at. And it's like, that represents in a way what happens during the demonic activities, according to his description. If one comes, they're sending signals for backup, they're right around about it, it's anger, it's power-driven, it's ego. And you just see clearly the more communism's coming in, how evil is truly manifested. I'm not saying in these people, but the influence of evil is so manifested in society right now. And I've said it for a long time, and he did say it in this video, we're at the point where he believes it is beyond human intervention. It needs to be divine intervention. It's so big, it's so global. And he particularly focuses on American statistics in it. But I think when you look at the rest of Europe and elsewhere, it's very much the same. And that's why when as soon as he says that, in agreement with me, I personally go back to the illumination of conscience of Garabandal, the Great Warning. I think Lucia of Fatima speaks about how every country will be under communism. And if it's the case of every country, are we talking the Vatican as well? Because it is a sovereign nation.
Yeah, no, great point. Yeah. Now, it's there's two more levels we want to get to here in regards to working off of what Father Ripperter had to say on communism. I know the first level, it's a reminder of Padre Pio's prophecy on the anti-church and others. There's been others, Venerable Sheen, you've got Blessed Anne Emmerich, just to name a few more. But again, given some of what Francis has had to say in recent times, his recent visit to out there in the Middle East, but then his talking about his version of sharing is not communism. That is pure Christianity. It's pure poppycock, of course, because we know the end game and all this with the United Nations is going to be rolled out, and the Antichrist is going to be telling the nations what assets go where and where your apples are going to go, so to speak. So it's definitely not the Catholic version of it. But what's some of the latest headlines maybe that you've been seeing, and maybe you're just some of your perspectives on Padre Pio's warning of what Blessed Anne Emmerich called the apostate church of darkness?
Yeah, we've tapped on that before, and again, great people to look towards for spiritual growth and help through their witness in their life. My father and grandfather were registered spiritual children of Padre Pio. He's been a great one for me growing up from a very young age. He's definitely one that witnessed a lot to do with the rosary, and yeah, all the miracles and all the gifts, and there's so many stories that are almost countless. But yeah, I think again, I just saw last night, and I don't watch all this stuff. Sometimes I take a break away from different things, but last night after that Father Ripperger one, Taylor Marshall was speaking about Padre Pio and Anne Catherine Emmerich exactly, and I've got all that contained in my video as well regarding Garabandal. So I feel like saying to Dr. Taylor Marshall, check out the video of Garabandal. If it's like a hand fitting the glove with this stuff, you've no idea how traditional it probably is when it fits in so well. So I covered that. I covered the interview with Father Gabriel North, who's the one that's telling us what Padre Pio told him. It's all there on my channel, Prophecy Prepper. But for me, it's definitely coming up within, and I think we need to just kind of be vigilant, a silent observation. I believe this year's the calm after the storm, based in last year with lockdown, COVID, Black Lives Matters, the riots, the Trump-Biden campaign. Even this morning, after that trans thing yesterday, I've wiped out over 280 odd people from my Facebook, mostly work colleagues. I'm fed up with it. Getting back like-minded people, get back to the faith and feel okay on your own with social media. So this rise of the anti-church, Pope Benedict even says it comes from within the church, which I do think Lucia said, and he saw Pope Benedict saw a great clear connection during his own personal investigation with Akita and Fatima. Very clear, distinct thing where cardinals against cardinals, bishops against bishops. We're seeing that so much, so constant. We need to be careful as human beings. We become too saturated or too desensitized of anything that's repeated to us long enough. We do believe it, or we just accept it as a way of life. And I would say in the last few years especially, this division in the church is so normal to be seeing, so normal to be getting news articles about or something, that we're just used to it now. And that's a big difference compared to maybe 15, 20 years ago that I can recall. So I think the more worldly it's getting, Pope Francis definitely seems with the Vatican, who's in charge with them just now, very big with the United Nations. This climate change is a really big thing. I think Dr. Taylor Marshall picked up on Katy Perry and some other rock star. But I'm like, that's not even the A-list. Come on, he's not even getting the A-list. And Chelsea Clinton, who thinks it's Christian to have abortions or something. I think it's more like King Herod, rather than Christ. The abortions and slaughter of the innocents, you know, who you imitating there, King Herod or Jesus? So kind of look at that. But I think whatever's coming to the table, there is a sense of this globalization more clearer than ever before. I think 20 years ago, so many Christian evangelists believed Jesus was coming tomorrow, and then all this Antichrist thing in a worldly point. But I think there are so much things happening now, and COVID, as the Canadian Prime Minister says, it is a window of opportunity to accelerate our pre-pandemic goals of 2030.
Yeah,
request to consecrate Russia. So I would be surprised if between now and June 2029 it all hits the fan. And I'm quite nervous about being in the UK, to be honest, because Padre Pio's prophecy, I know I'm off in different bits, but it's all part of it. Because Padre Pio's prophecy did also speak about a great nation would be annihilated, which confirms Fatima about nations being annihilated. It would be a great country with great history. Now, there's other things where he spoke about England being like under the waves, like it would be decimated up until certain areas of the land. It goes in with the old St. Columba prophecy, how Britain would sink beneath the waves. The whole nuclear deterrent of Britain is at Faz Lane, 2 hours drive from me in Scotland. We've got 3 nuclear reactors in Britain. I believe they're all in Scotland, if not 2 of them at least. So the UK, like the Westminster down in England, like to keep everything up in Scotland. And guess who's right on our radar? Russia. Or we're on their radar, so to say. When Russia comes to be that instrument of divine wrath, as Our Lady says, when it comes to kind of bring about some sort of sudden and unexpected war, then this is the kind of time I'd rather.
Yeah, and as I was mentioning on my premium podcast this morning, I was getting everyone caught up to speed on some of the latest headlines. I've been doing Fatima Watch News like all week because there's been something juicy to come out basically every day. But Russia the other day, and sort of their state of the nation to speak, Putin came out and basically issued a fresh warning for all foreign nations not to step over their boundaries. Otherwise, they would take actions. As a result of this, Biden is now not sending those original ships to head over there into the Black Sea, which is a good move, at least for now. But who knows, what will happen down the road or whatnot. So we're definitely keeping a close eye on that. Now, in other news, too, since you are the prophecy prepper, we're talking prophecy. This one just came up this morning. Not sure if you saw this one, but NASA is set to simulate a tabletop exercise on an asteroid impact scenario. And of course, this is found in scripture. It's found in Catholic prophecy. St. Hildegard talked about us being hit by a asteroid or comet, but NASA is reported to undergo a simulation. It's called tabletop exercise. It's going to be done during the week of April 26th. There's going to be members of NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office. They're all going to participate in this simulation involving an asteroid impact scenario. And again, you've got the Vatican staring at the skies. You've got Project Wormwood over in Australia. You've got the Lucifer telescope over there in Arizona, all paying attention to the skies. And I bring on some of the top Planet X researchers, Earth changes experts, and the fireballs and quakes are just picking up. And we can't, it's just, they're off the charts, really. As a matter of fact, there was an earthquake that many people missed in Austria the other day. I wanted to reach out to Charles Couillon because I know he's going to school out there to see how he did. It was like a 4.5. It wasn't anything too huge, but that was very rare, right? So we can file that one under Matthew 24, or earthquakes in diverse places. But have you covered in any of your videos, for those who are new to your work, comets and asteroids and all that good stuff, Mark?
I haven't yet, but I did see a brief bit of the article that you referred to there with NASA. Again, it's like if you draw parallels with the spiritual warfare that's going on, the Marian prophecies, as well as from other saints and mystics that we trust, you can just see how everything's coming together. It's like if you have a 6-lane freeway, as you call it over there, everything's going at the same speed almost. Everything's going in the same direction. And you've got 1 lane for the Marian prophecies, 1 lane for NASA, 1 lane for communism. Everything just seems to be going in the same place. Like we've been prepared for it anyway. Time. But I'm not surprised with it. I do think the comet side of thing might be what comes towards the end of certain events or near the end. I don't think that's going to be the first thing to happen. I think we're going to have to do a lot more damage to ourselves between them. But the only thing you were saying there again with Russia as well, because they were looking at planetary defense systems. China were doing it, but then America a year or two ago come up with Space Force. And it's like all of a sudden is that they're weaponizing space against each other. There's such a rush with Mars right now, Virgin Galactic, SpaceX. Everything seems to be focusing outside the planet towards space. And you wonder if Hollywood gave us enough insight from certain movies, like, are they really planning to get to Mars to make it like Total Recall movie? Or is it the fact that they know what's coming towards us, that they're saving so you don't know.
Right.
As our lady said, if you had to believe with Akita, the living will envy the dead. So that's why when it comes to preparing, it's like, what's the point being in a bunker and a shelter if you're not prepared through conviction, ready for meeting your maker? But I think certain events are going to come where there's going to be a great persecution with the church. I think if they had to take a strong stance against things that are in place right now, certain ideologies, it would already be getting decimated more and more. The church is crumbling. I would say there's an established anti-church image now. I think when you look at your Nancy Pelosi's, your Bidens, with the picture of the Pope in his office and everything, and all these Catholic leaders of nations are basically not following the gospel. They're not following a gospel of life. They're not speaking of God. They're not bringing out in their Christmas or Easter messages about Jesus or anything, but yet they'll say they're Catholic. But there is something there about tarnishing an image right now. And I think with everything else that's going on, again, I just see communism everywhere right now. The spirit of communism is everywhere, keeping us distracted, keeping us in fear, keeping us divided. And at the same time, the rich are getting richer and they're getting whatever they know is coming ahead. They're the ones that are getting planned from the earthly side of things. And I think that's where we just need to keep getting prepared. If I had to bug out scenario, if there's a way for me to bug out, I think my bug out plan is going to be to get to Fatima, or personally for me would be Garabandal, Medjugorje. I just believe with these things and events to come, remember God's going to be giving us signs and wonders as well. And I'd rather be in a place where I know I've had great spiritual refuge in the past. Because I don't think I'd want to be in the UK when it all kicks off. I do think
No, I know a lot of people leaving the UK.
The UK, man, I'm telling you, the UK ain't a good place for where it comes.
I've had two of my guests actually leave the UK over the last few months. John Kitson being one of them. Yeah, they bailed. They're out of Dodge. Ole Damagard's gotten out of Europe too as well. So it's happening now. Since you're the prophecy prepper, last area here to discuss, Mark, is along the lines of the things that you're seeing financially, but then also tying in with preparedness. We always like to ask our guests who are proficient in this area, perhaps if you could give us some money saving tips. We're all about trying to help people out, make their dollar extend a little bit, maybe some of the latest that you're doing on the prepping level. And this will be the last area that we can talk about. And again, we're here with Mark McLean, the prophecy prepper. Go ahead, Mark.
Sure, yeah, I'm no financial expert in any manner of means, but it is an area I've kind of been looking into a little bit more as well. I think, again, I don't know if it was Padre Pio or another great saint mystic that even did say, though, that people won't bend down to pick up the gold and silver, fighting over food. So, but the idea for me is then if I want to get a little bit away off grid or afford to have my little place away from the world, grow my own food and raise chickens, I do need the money a little bit more. Apart from working and getting an income that way, the crypto I think is still going to keep going. I did think I sent you a photo, and I did do a financial prepping video, and it showed you, I think it was ARK Investments, it's a global investment hedge fund from America. Their CEO spoke about areas that are coming out again, anything that's pro-climate change, where it's solar panels to electric vehicles, and anything then that spires off from that. I think your crypto's still going to come with the blockchain technology infrastructure behind it. You're talking, artificial intelligence seems to be talking again like it's here forever. When the last thing I heard of artificial intelligence was watching like a Hollywood movie, AI, 20 years ago or something. But yeah, a lot of the photos I did send you, I don't know if maybe you get it up your site, everything of the military, everything with this European Union dispelling Russia and everything being at its worst, as they've recently been saying in the news, then America v Russia again, you can see everything's coming to the point where even the military are now investing into artificial intelligence, automobiles, that, what is it, the driverless cars, basically. I'm forget autonomous vehicles. That's another thing coming in with the future. So these areas that ARK Investment think this is your next .com boom, this is your next mobile phone boom. So it's artificial intelligence, robotics, it's your autonomous vehicle driving. Electric vehicles are going to be outlawed by 2030 in this country, at least anyway. No more combustion engines. So if you're looking into the stock market or anything like that, that's the type of areas to get in now and wait it out. But the puppet master behind all these is artificial intelligence. It's the satellites in the sky helping the sat nav of the vehicle that's driven by robots. Whether it's Amazon using more robots rather than humans to do all your jobs and deliveries, everything is artificial intelligence. And I think that's the Antichrist part coming in. I think there's going to be something where we're constantly be dehumanized, and the more this thing takes over, this great reset given with the World Economic Forum, we'll own nothing but we'll be happy. If you don't get a chance to get in to find your pickings of more money side of things, then that's where I think you're going to lose out and just be another chicken in the pen. But I wouldn't be looking to the riches as such for survival that way. I think I'd be doing it to have something to get my little bit away, or if worst case scenario we do get whacked out and we're in a Mad Max Book of Eli type situation, and then a little bit of silver, a little bit of gold is not a bad thing to have for trading. And anything you think would be value for survival, from food, water, shelter, is the basics. So yeah, how do you want to be rich? Are we talking money? Are we talking crypto? Are we talking survival needs and necessities? Because we'll soon realize just how much we need food more than we need a cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I've always said that. Can't eat gold.
I would say, Eric, sorry, is I haven't read it myself, but it was years ago, a book was out, it was called It Ain't Gonna Happen. And it was on about like the dollar crash. It was on about, although up first, silver eventually will go, and it's like deliberately been held back in its price, because ever since they took the silver out of the dollar, you've just been printing paper. But eventually having silver going to go through, because when it's getting used in hospitals, when it's getting used in your phones and any other type of thing, it's the silver, once it goes through its smelting or whatever it's called, the equivalent of the gold, is losing a lot of its mineral wealth, or whatever. I can't remember the right word, but it's losing what makes it silver. So it's less and less availability, which makes the money will go up. And this book says get silver more than gold for a time to come.
Yeah, good stuff, Mark. Appreciate it. Anything else we can add by way of parting words? We call shameless self-promotion time. Again, we mentioned the YouTube channel, Prophecy Prepper. Anything else we need to add for promotional purposes this month, Mark?
Nothing other than the channel for now. I always feel after these discussions there's more things we could cover. I know I'm doing it off the top of my head, the best of my ability and my memory. But if you get any Prophecy Prepper on YouTube, Prophecy Prepper on Facebook, you'll find that I do post a lot of things there. There's a very specific playlist within Prophecy Prepper channel. It's all about marian apparitions and prophecies and things like that. And I try to lay it out in chronological order to fit the jigsaw piece to show where we are in this time. So that I would always recommend them, knowing that I've done a lot of research on it. And I know once I've published it, it's based on everything double-checked, triple-checked. Yes, another thing I've got on Facebook is I do run a Marian Apparitions Facebook page for anyone to join if they want to get in more information on that. There's over 13,500 joined, and it's went from 3,000 to 6 years to get there, and in the past 12 months it's basically just rocketed. See that as a good sign of something happening. There's great information there. It's filtered to make sure it's all above. So if you want to check Marian Apparitions on Facebook, Prophecy Prepper on YouTube, that would be great.
Great. Good stuff, Mark. Appreciate the time, folks.